In the final year of the Pac-12, many people were surprised at just how competitive the conference was. So many teams were extremely competitive and really made a statement in the final year. Washington obviously was the big standout after not only making the college football playoff, but ultimately making the national championship game before falling short to Michigan. People always talk about how no defense was played in the Pac-12, but there are always some very solid defensive players who come from the Pac-12 each and every draft class, and this year is no different. Washington linebacker Edefuan Ulofoshio had a very good season for the Huskies, and after testing out pretty well at the Combine, how high could we see him going in the 2024 NFL Draft? That is what we'll be going over in today's video. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment and let me know which players you guys want to see me talk about in a future video, and without further ado, let's get into it. Ulofoshio really burst onto the scene in 2023, but his college career has been no cakewalk. He suffered a season-ending injury at the end of 2021, which sidelined him for the second half of the year. After this, he was excited to get on the field in 2022, but unfortunately, his season was cut short again due to yet another injury. He still played a little bit and finished with 10 total tackles, but the production and snap count was very limited. His 2023 season is where he really made himself some money. He finished the year with 94 total tackles, 3 sacks, a forced fumble, and an interception. He played a big role in the Huskies defense that helped get them to the national championship game, and there is some buzz around him entering the draft. Athletically, Ulofoshio shows some really solid tools. He has some solid size, standing at 6'1", 236 pounds, but his quickness and his speed in the middle of the field were something that I was pretty impressed with. He ran a 4.56, which for a linebacker is a very good time, and he showed that on tape. He had great quickness when coming downhill, especially in run defense packages, and he had really good closing speed as well on pass plays, which I really appreciate. In pass coverage, Ulofoshio showed some pretty nice tools. He read the quarterback's eyes well in zone coverage, and he played his spots extremely well. When you mix in his awareness with the fact that he can close on the football quickly, I think he could have a pretty nice NFL career. As a tackler, Ulofoshio shows some really good tools as well. In the open field, he had the hit power to make a play, and he also had some very nice arm tackles, because he had great length. One thing I will say about his tackling is while he does penetrate the gaps well and he comes downhill quickly, there were far too many instances where he would take a poor angle as a run defender and would just flat out miss the tackle. As an open field tackler, I love what he offers. I just would like to see more consistency as a run defender. When it works, it's pretty, but it's inconsistent for him. Ulofoshio has some lackluster change of direction. He was unable to pivot and turn his hips at a very high level, and I wasn't a fan of that either. I think he can improve, sure, but it wasn't something we saw on tape with Washington, and I'd be interested to see how it translates to the NFL. Another area I didn't love was as a blitzer. He wouldn't time his blitzes particularly well, and then he'd be met with a blocker, which if that was the case, the play was pretty much over, because Ulofoshio really struggled to shed blockers on a consistent basis. If you go back and watch the college football playoff game against Texas, he was blocked for a very large portion of that game, and he just couldn't get free. Once again, the upside is there, but we just haven't seen enough consistency to my liking. Ulofoshio is a solid athlete, but some of the tools I like to see from a linebacker just aren't there. We didn't even mention how his instincts are below average for the position, and he doesn't read plays as well as you would like. With that being said, he is my linebacker 12. I like his potential, I think he's got a high upside, and we'll see how it translates. Ulofoshio I think would work best almost as a roaming outside linebacker. He plays his spots really well in zone coverage, and I like how he would fit dropping back into zone and making a play there, and closing on the football. I think that's where he's going to thrive in the NFL, and I think he'd fit best as a 4-3 outside linebacker. Sion Takitaki is my comp for Ulofoshio. Takitaki has been a solid linebacker, even though he's been a bit of a journeyman, but he's a good athlete, but he has trouble taking on blocks, and his change of direction is underwhelming. Takitaki has been a bit of a journeyman, as I mentioned, but he's had a solid NFL career, and I think Ulofoshio is going to be used in a very similar type of role. Ulofoshio is an under-the-radar prospect, but there are some concerns with him. He has some potential, but I see him as more a rotational piece in the NFL, and ultimately, I believe that Edefuan Ulofoshio will be a 5th round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft.